This is Actualize Freedom, straight talk on growing clicks and conversions on Amazon FBA from people doing it every day. Now here's your host, digital marketing acrobat, Danny Kenji Carlson.
What's up, guys? Danny Carlson here with the Actualized Freedom podcast, and I'm in a good mood right now because I'm sipping on this coffee thing. It's got like coffee and cacao and a bunch of stuff in there, so something in there is it works, whatever it is. But I'm here today with Omar. He is from Margin Business, and we're going to be diving today into localization for different Amazon marketplaces. So one really interesting stat that I know I keep talking about here, but this is a big reason why you guys need to be looking at the European marketplaces, especially all of the EU marketplaces combined are now the same size or larger than the United States marketplace. And we all know how big that is. So really, today is really the time to move over to the European marketplaces, take those products that are working in North America, and then just make them work in another marketplace, right? It's not as difficult as people think. And so we're going to be talking today with Omar, who specializes exactly in that and is going to tell us all about how that works and what's the easiest way to go about doing this. So welcome to the Actualized Freedom podcast, Omar. How are you doing over there?
Thanks for having me, Danny. Everything is good. Everything perfect. Same here. Coffee. I guess it's not morning for you, but you know, it's for me as well, coffee time all day long. So it's all good over here.
Exactly. Coffee in the afternoons, not supposed to be good for your sleep, but you know what? I don't care. So it makes me feel good. So where are you right now, by the way? I forget what country exactly you're in over there, Omar.
At the moment, I'm located in Spain. It's not our base, but for now, for COVID, it's the easiest way to stay for European citizens. You don't have to go to any government or anything. You just can stay in one place as long as you want. So I think for now, it's the best choice for us. And usually we are remote all over the world. Our headquarters have been in South America and in Malaysia, but right now the headquarters has been relocated into the UK and Marshall Islands.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy town here. Like pretty soon, I think there's going to be probably crypto islands where we can incorporate companies without any central government and all this crazy stuff here. That's what us digital nomads going to have to be doing here. But let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this episode here, Omar. So localization becoming increasingly important as the other e-commerce marketplaces are really opening up to be, yes, hard to ignore, right? But a lot of people, they think that localization means that I'll just get someone to translate my listings and that's done and dusted, right? So maybe you can just give people an overview, like what really does localizing your Amazon products to different marketplaces look like? What does that all encompass?
So if we start very easy, then I just would say it like you said, for the translation of the text, for example, it's easy to translate it or to let it translate it for a few dollars and then put it on the marketplace. But yeah, now for Americans or for English speakers, if, for example, somebody writes a listing who's not a native speaker, who has no clue about the culture in the United States or in the UK or in Australia or any other English-speaking country, he will not attract the customers he wanted with his speech or with what he writes in order to really get 100% out of the listing. Maybe he can get 20%, 20%, 30%. Some people are happy. They still make 1 million and, they only get 20%. But for me, it's not the goal. I would really recommend to everyone to do 100% of listing in order to get 100% of revenue. Because why are we doing all of this? It's because of revenue. So we really need to make sure that the listing is localized for the market you are selling in, which includes marketing, which includes copywriting, content writing, and Amazon knowledge. So it combined all of these together. You have obviously to train a person. There is very rarely people who have all these skills together and are from a certain country. So you have to train them.
One really interesting point here too is keywords. So one example that a lot of people will probably be familiar with is the difference between the British spelling and the American spelling of a lot of words. There's a lot of British words that are the exact same, except there's a U added in there instead of an O or something like that, right? It's very similar. And from a keyword perspective, maybe your listings, the British people are going to be able to read it correctly and it makes sense, but they're going to be typing in the British version, right? So you're probably not going to be ranking for the right keyword, or it's just not going to be optimal, right? Or like another example that comes to mind is Australians. It's very proper in Australia to use the word bloody, right? The Australians are going to say, this is bloody great. This is bloody amazing. But in America, that just sounds weird. Just like, what? Like, what's bloody? Is blood on something, right? So it's more than just Google Translate, like you said, right?
Exactly. This is the thing. And here we talk only about the English language. Now, if we go into the different languages within the European Union, which are not some dialects or some very distant cousins, this is different languages and obviously 100% different cultures. So if you go to Germany and you have a listing translated from the American language, from US English into German, and you tell the customer, for just an example, I like to bring this up all the time, like buy now, it's very aggressive, Germans don't really like that. So they like to be taken by the hand to the listing, and then you can show them a little bit around, and then you have a few things which trigger their needs. And then they feel like they buy, out of themselves. I mean, they know that you're going to sell to them, but they don't want to feel that they've been sold to. Where other countries, for example, in the southern countries, you can be a lot more open to this. They don't have to, you don't have to try to get them very, how can I say, like more open. Exactly. But for example, if you look at the German market, if you come with a listing which is completely Google translated, it will kind of turn them off, because they don't have the it's confidence, it's something they want to know. Okay, this person is a real German seller, or this person has really put some. I mean, a customer don't think anyway what is really behind. They just see the first thing.
It's a bad perception, right? It's just a bad taste in the customer's mouth. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this example of a Chinese restaurant. They quite often will use the word fungus instead of mushrooms, right? Technically, it's correct, right? Exactly. Yes, that's a correct translation technically, but people generally think of fungus as something else that they don't want to be putting in their mouths. So, little things like that really matter. And let's talk about Japanese for a second here, because there is a growing Japanese Amazon market. Ooh. That's a really interesting use case here, because there's actually multiple different alphabets for the exact same letters in the Japanese language. For every sound in the Japanese language, you could actually spell that with two different letters, right? And two different alphabets. And only someone who really understands Japanese is going to understand which one of those alphabets generally to use for the different words, right? It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to it unless you really grew up around that language, right? So from a very keyword search driven perspective, if you're using the wrong alphabet for some of your words, then people are probably not going to be finding your product as easily.
No, that's 100%, because especially for Japanese as well, because when we hired, for example, when we have our translator doing the work, we need not only a translator, we need as well a proofreader. Because in Japanese, I'm really completely lost, Even if I look at it, I cannot make, maybe even if I want to compare the different words, or it's not possible, just not possible. So I have to really rely on the proofreader and the translator. And if they make mistakes in the keywords, then, we're going to get completely lost in the listing afterwards, and obviously it don't sell. So it's super important to localize it and to have people who actually can confirm that it's localized, because it's easy to hire somebody and then you say, yeah, I can translate, and then at the end,
you have no idea if they're doing a good job or not.
Exactly. So that's why we, for example, we have the staff we work with for years. We know, they know exactly what to do. They know, we know which client they can work with, what is good for them, what is bad for them. So really there needs to be a team. You cannot just open your Amazon market with 7 languages and begin to hire left and right. You're going to lose time, precious time, which you need in order to build your business. Because like I said, there is the 4 different qualities, what they need to have. And obviously they need to be trained, and you need to train them. You need to give them updates on their training if they're still good with it. So there is a whole lot of points which cost too much time for individual in order to make that. And like I said, the company owners need to now focus on their product. Why I say now, because before maybe there was a possibility that it went through, that it was smooth, but right now the competition is so hard. The bar is raised. We're having a lot of money pumped into the ecosystem. So really there needs to be a big upgrade for everyone.
Yeah, especially right now with it seems like at least 3 or 4 times a week, some aggregators are going to reach out to us, like these big companies that are just buying up Amazon brands. And then, they're taking over the market, right? Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like you can sell your company to one of these brands and that's great, but it's just raising the bar because a lot of these companies, very organized, they have a very systematized way of buying these brands, growing them, building them. And you're just going up against very well-equipped, very well-funded people, right? And you bring up an interesting point about, the problem with hiring just a random translator or something like that is that they probably don't also understand Amazon keyword optimization, and it's very important that it's not just some random translator or something like that. Or on the flip side, someone who understands Amazon keyword optimization, but doesn't understand the local language they're typing about. It's a very specific kind of skill set needed, right?
It is because, like I said, for example, if you have the Swedish or the German language, if somebody learned it in school and then kind of say, yeah, I can translate, maybe the translation looks okay, but it's still not enough, but maybe he can do it. But then how can he understand which keyword to search for this type of language? Because, for example, if you have foreign sellers coming into a European market, for example, most of them, they have a lot of money because they're corporate, so they're going to boost themselves in PPC up to the first ranks, but they rank with keywords which you will see in, for example, Helium 10 or Zone Guru, the softwares which you will see in red. You say, yay, they're good, but if you really read them, they sound completely weird and maybe make not sense at all. So you have another keyword, for example, which has only 500 searches, which looks a lot better, which they don't use, but you will use. And your customers are actually the native ones, the local ones. So they will go with your keywords instead of the red keyword. And this is the small differences, what makes it really important that you hire or that you have local translators which know about localization and which know about the segment and the customer segment of this particular market.
Yeah, I have a good analogy for that I came across recently, actually. Like, I think everyone, maybe this would be almost 10 years ago now, but I remember there being a big discussion around when animation, like computer animation, was getting so good that it was getting to the point where it was close to 100% realistic. Like nowadays, we pretty much are at that point where it is 100% realistic. But back then, there was a big conversation around like, okay, so it's almost realistic, but it's like creepy, right? Because things that are like almost real but not quite real look creepy, right? So like they had this problem where all the movies they're making in 3D animation were just like, it's like, this is like, for some reason, this is weirding me out, like cartoon, 100% fake, totally fine, right? Or 100% real, totally fine. But it's just when it's like not quite right, it's creepy, right? And I think like you get the same effect if the language is just like not quite right. The grammar is a little bit off and the wording just like isn't quite the same, right? It's the same kind of effect.
Yeah, it's true because then it don't give this it's the same for me, when I go into for example, I don't know, imagine I write a listing in English and I put it on the German market, it will, okay, I'm not a native English speaker, it might sound okay, but some will say, he's using some strange words, I don't know, maybe even the photos are not adapted to the US market, because the US marketing is very heavy and strong, and the European marketing is a little bit less noisy, let's say it this way. I think the American marketing is very strong, And I really like it, because, when there's chocolate on a picture, it really splashes everywhere, where the European market is very, like I said, very less noisy, but it's definitely this knowledge, what you need, and the wording, what you, for example, as well use on the photos, which make this last fine tuning of a customer who has the credit card in his hand, who's ready to pay, and makes his last decision. That's 100%.
Okay, that's a great point to bring up, because we've been talking mostly about the listing, the actual writing itself up to this point. But photos, obviously, there can be some different cultural faux pas and things there as well. So give us some good examples of, something that maybe the imagery is going to be really good for the US market, but if you took the same thing and then put it into another market, then it's just going to be totally inappropriate or just really kind of out of place.
So there is a few examples. There is, for example, for protein. For protein, you have for example, if we talk about chocolate, then for the American market, the chocolate is all over the place. And they did the same as well for the European market. And the numbers are a lot less, obviously, because the market is as well smaller. But I checked the overall, the buying power of this market, and it's a lot higher. So if the photos would have been changed, a little bit less loud, less noisy, it would be a lot better. Now for the States, it's a booming picture. It's big letters. Everything is really, like I said already, loud, but it didn't work in that way. And for example, as well, for if you have baby stuff like wooden toys or anything what's related to baby, like these beeps or something. As well for beeps, even the word, I don't even know anymore. Beeps, who's using beeps? Is it the UK or the US?
America uses that word.
Okay, beeps. Okay, so we have then you have, for example, these babies, which in Europe you can have it with the random people on there. It's really like they like it like everyday lifestyle. Whereas in other countries, you really have to have them like dressed like 100%. Like there can be no mistake, no default, no nothing. So there's two different ways how you can do it, and two different ways how the countries would accept it or are used to it. So yeah, but you just have to know the country where they like this and where is disliked.
Yeah, it's a really good point too, because I think a lot of sellers overlook that. But think about that. If you are, I know a lot of our clients, they're very particular about what kind of target demographic they want to really be targeting, right? They're like, okay, I know that woman between 30 and 45 are my typical customer. I need to show them actually interacting with the product. I need to show this and this, right? But they don't think to do the same thing when they're getting it into another country. They just like, okay, let's just slap up what we got. I already paid for photos. That's fine. Let's just get it up there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But I mean, it's the equivalent of launching in the US market, knowing that your target demographic is 30 to 45-year-old woman, and then just putting like a 17-year-old girl in there or something like that, and just saying like, whatever, it's close enough. She's a woman, Yes.
I know. That's the problem where I go next now. It's investment. Everyone needs to understand that right now, like I said before, maybe before it was working, like you said, just put a 70-year-old woman and whatever. But now we're really in early stages of like a premature market. Everything is going very very professional direction. Even small sellers, everything is getting very professional. And investment, you cannot get around it anymore. And maybe even so, before you needed maybe to look at the product cost, at the PPC cost, at your outside traffic cost. But right now you need as well look at listing cost, optimization cost, keyword research cost. I mean, all this package together, picture cost. Not only put it back in your, have two lights there and then take a photo and hope that it's going to work. No, it's really everything needs to be now 100%. Even Amazon is beginning to say we have seen. For example, listings where AIs are pointing out, although it's a native language, that the wording is wrong. You understand? Even the AI is beginning now to go through listings and pointing out things which at the moment are not make no sense. But this is preparing everything for the future. That at some point they will talk about. They will say, yeah, this photo is not good. You need to do a new one. This is not good. This is not good. So even the AI gets already trained in order to set up what is coming for everyone. So investment, very important. Don't think about the short term. You have a business. You need to invest. That's really, really important.
Yeah, and I think most people don't really understand the financials of that. So, as an example, you guys can play around with this in the spreadsheet if you'd like, but a 1% conversion rate increase on a product that's doing, just an average amount of revenue, like $20,000 a month revenue or something like that, quite often will translate into 20 to 30% additional revenue onto the top line revenue for that product. And most people just don't really understand those numbers, right? It just seems like, oh yeah, I can squeeze an extra percent, 0.5% here. But I mean, that's like literally 30% added onto the revenue of that one product. And that's a pretty typical case of what we see. So it's, yes, it can be a chunk of money, right? If you have a lot of products and you're investing thousands of dollars into photos and videos and all this kind of stuff, but you just open up a spreadsheet and just take a look at it. It's like, okay, so assuming that if I raise my conversion rate by like 10%, 20%, just something really conservative, a 20% increase in my conversion rate, would that pay for itself? And quite often, you're going to find that the numbers pay for themselves quite quickly and quite easily with even a pretty modest conversion rate increase. Just because of the massive amount of traffic on Amazon, it's these little margins that can really squeeze the juice out of the extra sales on Amazon. Has that been your experience?
Yes, true. You have to know your numbers. That's 100%. You have to know your numbers. Everything needs to be in place. It's just a small change of A+ content can give you already a whole new level of customer base. That whole new customers looking at your listing just while scrolling down to your A+ content, for example. I think it's really important. And if you look at the text as well from the A+ content, because you can change this. I have 2 points where there's something special as well. I'm not sure if you know it as well already. You can change all the A+ content within the countries in the European Union. Obviously, you can change even the photos, so you can adapt to culture as well, and you can as well change the text and adapt to the culture as well. And the text, because you have already so much text on top, what you're gonna, you cannot write too much as well, because it's not something you're gonna write 2 or 3 pages of it. So you can go into the reviews of every single country, for example, and pick out the negatives and the positives, and you will see that the different countries will have as well different reviews, different approach to the product. So some people will like it, and other countries will dislike that feature, or there is different problems as well with the product. And you can take this and put this, for example, and update your A+ listing according to this. Now, I talk about the A+ listing, which you can change per country, but right now you can as well change your photos within the European Union per country. This has been lately updated, and this gives a very, very good room for what we have been already talking about before, to change actually the photos, the photos on the listing, and even to change the language on the photos. So you can now German, for Italian, you have Italian, you can write Italian on the pictures, no problem anymore. Like before, you had to do 3 or 4 languages, if it makes sense, obviously. Now you can address each and every customer from each and every country with the different languages as well on the photos, because some people don't bother to read below the first bullet point. So they look at the pictures, and there we have as well some information, which is a great boost as well, and will make a lot of difference as well. Yeah.
A+ content is so important, guys. I know most of you are probably using it, or you're planning on getting your brand registry, but I mean, Amazon's numbers, they plaster this all over Seller Central and public places, this is actual Amazon data, is it increases a listing's conversion rate by an average of 5%, right? Which is freaking huge, right? And maybe your category is only 1%, maybe it's 10%, right? But that's the average is 5%. And if you guys haven't already, use the Amazon IP Accelerator program. Yes, it'll cost a little bit more money using their lawyers, but then you can get brand registry in a matter of weeks instead of a matter of 10 months or a year or something like that. So it's never been easier, and it's kind of becoming the standard to have A+ content and brand registry, right? It's just like you're at a big disadvantage if you're not using it.
Oh yes, 100%. It's highly recommended to have A+ content. Anyway, if you want to build a really good brand on Amazon, you have to have brand registry, as you already said, because with brand registry, it comes as well the photo option that I just mentioned. So everything gets open with brand registry. I mean, it's and as well with the brand registry, you can as well go afterwards over to the US. So everything is open for or everything is set up actually. If you do the ground job directly and not just think about buying the product on a budget and then sell it on the European marketplace or on the US marketplace. So right now, if you really want to start a business, really think about that you spend quite a lot in order to get something back. So it's not anymore. Before maybe it was $1,000 or $2,000. Now I would not go with that in anymore. Even with 10,000, I would be very hesitant to touch anything, because before you set everything up, this amount will be already gone, you know. So, and afterwards you will have to reorder. So there's a lot of things in there which have to be really taken into account in order to be really successful, which does not mean that I want to discourage people, but I want to say that this is a real business. This is not a hobby anymore. So yeah, I sell on Amazon, you know, no, it's 100% life. You sleep, eat, and dream it. That's what it should be.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm actually just finishing up a really big Q4 content piece here coming up. And so I'm curious to ask you, what do you see coming down the door for Q4 for sellers? You know, whether that's you know, something unique for this year or just a general Q4 advice for the Amazon sellers, because we're, you know, as we're recording this episode, we're creeping up. Q4 technically starts in a couple of weeks here, so it's go time for the big show time on Amazon here.
Yes, 100%. So what I always say, and what we have already been doing since 1.5 months, we updated the listings of our clients already with the necessary keywords for the 2021 Q4 period. So you need to be very early. Don't go in too late. Have your stocks ready. If you need to order and put them in a warehouse, do it, because you never know if Amazon will be able to take your stuff on time. And if you have them somewhere in a warehouse, then, or if you're not early enough, then you have always the option to bring them in the warehouse or something something like that. The keywords can be taken as well from 2020. That's not a problem, because you will not find any keywords if you search right now for 2021. It's going to be weird keywords which make no sense. So because the Christmas period is most of the time all the same, sometimes there come specific products which are different, but the keywords normally stay about the same. So you make a good bet if you take, for example, if you make a list from the previous year of 2020, have your main keywords for Christmas ready, and put them in your listing already 1.5 months ago. If you didn't do it yet, do it now, and get your listings going, you know.
Boom. There we go. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. We're going to drop a really big guide, video, and blog post about Q4 and all the best strategies that we've been compiling here. So I totally agree with that sentiment when it comes to Q4. But thanks so much for your time on here, Omar. It's been really valuable. If people want to reach out to you and Margin Business to check out their localization options there, where's the best place for them to do that?
So it's marginbusiness.com. Or just write us an email or write directly to me, Omar at marginbusiness.com, OMAR at marginbusiness.com. So it's pretty easy. We're as well on Instagram. We're everywhere. We have our own podcast. So everything is on the website. You can check everything out. Any questions, let us know. We're happy to help and to reply.
Boom. And
thank
TikTok
you so much for having
too,
me.
right?
Oh no, TikTok. We're not on it yet. We're
I
not
saw
on
Jungle
it yet.
Scout's been making TikTok videos. It's the future of marketing, man. It's the future. We gotta start dancing.
Yes, I know.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Omar. And guys,
okay, thanks for having me.
Links and references in the show notes at kenjiroi.com/blog, so you can check out his website and email and everything over there. But until next time, guys, thanks for joining. Go out there and make some sales.
For show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, visit kenjiroi.com.